Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund's flagship event, Voyage 2021, partnered by ET Now, was recently conducted digitally. On this episode of the 8th edition of Voyage 2021, we're focusing on the immediate and near-term outlook of various sectors in an environment of high uncertainty and varying impacts. First up, we have industry experts discussing the impact of the COVID-19 crisis on the real estate sector. Are these changes short-term or long-lasting? Let's find out.
Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome aboard as we are in the journey of the Voyage 2021. The entire discussion is about the next decade in real estate. I was talking about the commercial real estate. When private equity investors invested in 2010 to 12, what did they saw coming and what played out in the last decade in the commercial real estate?
So I think, Chanchal, my immediate reaction would be the last decade has been quite transformational for commercial real estate. Particularly the office market. When I say commercial real estate, I also include retail. So as far as the office market is concerned, I think we've basically seen it moving from a non-institutional asset class to an institutional one. India, basically made the journey from being a low-cost business process outsourcing location to a value-driven core global location for core competencies for major financial services companies and across sectors. Why just financial services companies? And I think what that did was it showcased Indian talent front and center, and that allowed global corporations to appreciate the depth and the quality of Indian talent. Global corporations no longer look at India as just a cost arbitrage from a real estate infrastructure point of view, but actually look at it as a significant accretive or additive to their entire global corporate performance because of the quality of the talent they're able to leverage. India is a very small retail market, and I dare say that the pandemic has changed the rules quite dramatically globally for retail shopping centers, and it remains to be seen what impact that has in India. I mean, I'd like to think that it's still a very nascent market, so there will be opportunities. We are under-mauled, if I can use that expression. So there seems to be logic for expansion. I think India is on the verge of a cusp of a digital super cycle. And I think retail shopping centers will have to face that reality.
Vivek, you must be meeting a lot of tenants. You have a big office market. With work from home, are you seeing some consolidation happening? Are people giving up some office space and renegotiating rentals? What is the scenario there?
So I think on the office side, I think we continue to remain having a positive outlook on our office business. Let me start by saying that. Right, you are right that we had a temporary blip in the occupancy, right? So actually, if I really look at our occupancy levels currently, it is currently at 91% from a pre-COVID of 95%, right? So it has actually dropped. So we can see it has increased by 4%. I think there is very little discussion we are having in terms of renegotiating the rentals or resetting the rental base, right? While with some of the tenants, which I'll say are smaller, who are still going through this financial difficulty, we are having a reset, but in my view, that's not going to be material. So I think to sum up, I'll say this is a temporary blip, and we expect normalcy to restore in 3 to 4 quarters from now.
Sure. Thanks, Vivek. Coming to residential real estate, Anuj, I want to bring you in because you do a lot of work here. Has the pandemic taught people the importance of owning a property, and people want to own bigger home? Something triggers a new cycle. Is this a start of a new residential real estate cycle?
So to answer your question, it looks like that it is beginning of a sort of 5, 6, 7 year resi cycle. I hope this time, Chanchal, we have the right players who are rallying. And why I say that is, in the past, In 2008, when the global financial crisis happened, 2009 made the market came back. It was like a wave that came back. All the fishes that were on the side, which were the developers, they took all the fishes back and everybody swam. This time, I hope that the consolidation phase comes in, that it does not pick up, the fishes who had spoiled the market and they leave it on the shore, and it's only the more corporate governed, financially disciplined, customer focused, delivery focused fishes that actually go in there. And to my mind, Chanchal, that is what is going to happen. It will be a very selective cycle that will come in.
Next decade, if you were to invest, will you do it in equity or will you do it in real estate?
I think it is not or. I think it is and only. Clearly, on the real estate, particularly on the residential, Chanchal, it has now become more of a social security. So, if you're buying it for your end use, please go ahead and buy. If you're thinking you are going to be a speculator in this market, I would suggest don't come in.
Yeah, I think I agree with that sentiment. Absolutely. I mean, and for me as a real estate investor, I would first invest in the asset class that I understand the most. And that's the way I look at it. I mean, don't try and be everything to everybody.
Sure, that's interesting. Vivek, your view?
See, very similar, but I'll say I'll allocate my capital in a balanced and in a diversified manner, as most of us do, between real estate and equity and other class of assets.
Welcome back to Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund presents Voyage 2021, partnered by ET Now. Industry stalwarts continue to speak about how the pandemic has changed the outlook of the manufacturing sector profoundly and how every crisis brings its own set of opportunities. Let's take a look.
Let me start, let me break open this session and start by asking a very general question to all my panelists. And we'll start with Mr. Maheshwari with you. Manufacturing in India is about 14% of our GDP. The world average is 18%, right? There's clear scope to catch up with the world average. But where do you think, or where does this panel think the opportunity lies? Is it to service the local demand and substitute imports?
So, Vineet, when we look at this question, oftentimes people talk about that, do we have any competitive advantage somewhere, and let's focus on that. But let's just step back for a minute and see. Then what you will find is that Indian industry is inherently competitive, possibly with the best in the world you will find. And they've demonstrated capabilities both in India and globally. So in many of those industries, we have clearly demonstrated that we have inherent capabilities of beating the best in the world in terms of our efficiencies and in terms of the technology that we use. Then the question comes is that why have we been struggling? And I think that requires a bit of an honest introspection, that are our factor cost of production on par with the best in the world? I think we should do an honest evaluation. If you ask me, fundamentally, we have opportunities on all the fronts. We have a great domestic market, which obviously can serve as a great base for anyone, So, like, India can possibly survive without bothering about rest of the world in terms of the demand that we have.
Mr. Rai, just coming over to you, what is your take on this topic? Where does the opportunity lie?
Thanks for having me. So I think that, we are right now 17% of Chinese GDP. And at this particular percentage, we are very competitive in terms of our labor cost, etc. And the moment we are acquiring skills into various, elements of manufacturing, or various sectors of manufacturing, I find getting competitive by day in our sector. So in the mobile sector specific, let me share that, it's a winner takes all business. 80% of the global manufacturing is with China today. And, now we are looking at taking on to that manufacturing because China is getting less competitive. Also, there are geopolitical contexts. And the government is realizing that this is the opportunity of India. And therefore, you can see the PLI scheme coming. You can see, how the global champions thought has come for the first time in the budget, along with the development financial institutions, who are going to back up, creation of the ecosystem in the country. I think it is the time for us to look into the world, because my thing is, in our sector, you can't be competitive by just import substitution. It is just impossible. You have to see that if we can manufacture, it's not, we are a country, we cannot be the average 18% of the world. We have to even go larger than the average, because it's a winner takes all principle. And if we have to deploy our people, agriculture, manufacturing, these are two important segments for us to deploy our people in such a large numbers. So I think it is a time for India to take on and become globally competitive by ensuring that whenever we are doing our manufacturing bit, it has to be targeted at global. And of course, by the way, you will supply local.
In today's global supply chains, how essential is it to have a local supplier ecosystem, of subcomponents, etc.? And how does it help in productivity? If you can talk about that.
Definitely, Vinny. Logistics is a cost which is many times ignored, but it is a big cost. And the delays and all that in multiple ways can cost you a lot of money. So you could be really in business or out of business because of logistics. So local supply is always very, very preferred. And we believe that localization has to happen in a manner that we have the ability to then sell these particular products outside, as the theme of this conversation is. And we've been doing that very successfully. We feel it's a very important step, which is there. Localization or owning the know-how and the technology is very, very important. So you can't just copy the components or something like that. You have to own the technology.
Welcome back to Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund presents Voyage 2021, partnered by ET Now. Up next, we have a power-packed panel on the importance of fighting the pandemic with the help of rapid digitalization, which has led to a surging demand for payments, content, media, music and entertainment. Let's listen in.
I'm glad to be joined by our eminent panelists who have been in the forefront of the digital transformation that is underway in our country. Welcome to all the panelists. Last year, as countries went under lockdown, we saw tremendous surge in the overall online activity. So, Bhaskar, my first question is to you. Can you highlight some of the key consumer behavioral trends in a post-COVID world as you see under the Google lens?
Post-COVID India is also going to see something even bigger transformation, because we see that 10 years of change has happened in just 10 months. And most of these consumer behavioral changes are going to continue and are going to outlast the pandemic itself. I want to highlight three fundamental shifts that we are seeing, right? Number one, internet has become more ubiquitous. So 600 million internet users. So what we are seeing is all the consumers are even allowing even kids to kind of work with the internet and in a very utilitarian way. And this is causing almost every single product form that we see a massive increase in their surge in terms of volume, in terms of unique users growing up and watch time going up significantly. The second thing is payments. The payments is unlocking a whole new internet economy, because thanks to COVID, people are willing to both consume more and more internet and content, and are also willing to pay a lot more seamlessly. And the last big trend I want to call out is that the the vernacular story is here and now. The new internet users who have joined, almost like 200 of them in the last year alone, they are demanding very different internet experience. We have seen voice searches increase by almost 270% on Google. We have seen the word translate, this web page, has actually happened almost 17 billion times So people are looking and trying to consume content in the native language, and that is going to only get up even faster. So all in all, I think all these trends I believe, are going to outlast the pandemic.
My next point with regards to Vikas, you want to highlight Amazon has a large ecosystem play in India, right? So any consumer specific trends through the past 12 months you want to highlight?
When we got into pandemic, right, nobody expected what is going to happen, and what was at the top of mind was how do we get the delivery of essentials, right? How do we get essentials to customers, and then how do we do it in a very safe fashion? So you saw like when things were shut that how we as the e-commerce marketplace played a role in delivering the essentials and doing it in a very safe fashion. So what we've seen as a result is customers are now starting to enjoy the benefits and appreciate the convenience that it brings. So you've seen that to that point, a surge of customers in tier 2 and 3 who were sitting on the fence, and sometimes when they were sitting on a fence and now there's a need, then you start to try it out, and when you try it out 3 times to 5 times, you start to build a habit. So we've seen surge of customers. We've also seen like a surge of digital payments because cash was not safe, and that you could carry infection through currency notes. We've seen customers, even customers who were ordering pay on delivery, that they're starting to use digital payments at doorstep. So we've seen huge shift. We've been very secularly driving digital payments adoption on our e-commerce marketplace, but we've seen that trend accelerate quite a bit during the pandemic, and it is sustaining. So not only at checkout, but also at delivery. So you're seeing that this will actually be a big push, organic tailwind to digital payments adoption in the country, which is anyway good for customers. It's good for the economy. It's good for, our merchants and sellers. So those are some of them seeing. Also, we are seeing that customers, now with this, they have more options, right, to select, to look at the best price and buy. And now with that, like you will see a lot more value being added to customers because, there are more players, and then hence customers have more choice to make, the best choice for their behalf or on their behalf. So we're seeing some of these organic trends, which is very encouraging. I think we've moved forward at least 5 years, out of this pandemic.
How has the payment space actually, evolved in the last 5 to 6 years? And what, as per, what are the unique characteristics of the India's payment ecosystem?
What some of the unique characteristics in India is that we were just starting from such a low base, and with the penetration of smartphone and technology, we've actually leapfrogged technology, by a great mile compared to some of the other countries in the world, right? And I don't think there is any country today that has all the, through our UPI, that has all the banks connected, for a real-time mobile-based two-factor payment system. And then we also see that the willingness to experiment and try different things is much higher than what it is because there is no habit per se. So I would say those are some of the things that that are unique to India, which is going to be very powerful as we think about next 5 to 10 years, is that we are very unique, that we have mobile-led payment system. We have something that's instant. We have the two-factor safety and security, which some of the other countries, by the way, do not have even today. We have users that are more agile and nimble to try out technologies and adopt. And then, we are more mobile and app-based, right? All of these things, I think, are going to be very unique as we think about next 5 years. But at the same time, we are one of the lowest penetration in the world, right? So which means that it gives us a huge runway as we think about next 5 to 10 years, because all things are now lining up well. Now it's up to us as an industry on how we really reach outside of the first 100 million users through our reach, and then get those customers start to try and adopt digital payments.
When you look at the the consumption pattern, does the interface, payments, logistics have to be different for when you approach a tier 3, tier 4 market versus the urban markets?
Definitely, Kunal, that's a very fair question. So if you look at it, right, I think there are two kinds of users. One kind of user who's coming on board is a English-speaking one. He is or she is an urban consumer, but probably when I'm saying urban consumer, the behavior is like urban. He or she speaks English, educated, buys brands which is exactly being bought by someone from Bangalore or Bombay or Delhi. So definitely the regional languages, the way you need to onboard these consumers need to be very, very different. So it needs to be a lot more native, a lot more localized for that consumer. That's one. Second, the way they search, right, itself is again very different. So these are very simple things, but it goes a long way in ensuring the consumers actually understand the language critically. From the payment point of view, they are savvy definitely, but the trust needs to be built over time because they are still in the double mind whether is this a trustworthy place to put my money in? Can I save my credit card details here? So that trust needs to be built over time.
One final question to all of you. Nandan makes one of powerful statements is that we are moving from a prepaid to a postpaid economy. So given that in this decade, which vertical segment within the whole internet economy you would be most bullish on?
I would put it in the context of credit. We know credit is a big driver of consumption, right, in the world. So we are seeing that not only credit is enabling consumption, but it is also enabling consumption where the need is, which is in the tier 2, 3 cities of India, right? At the same time, credit is also a huge driver for SMEs and for merchants and for sellers, right? So I think I think some of the new initiatives on OCE and on others, just like UPI, I think are going to be game changer. But we have to do it right.
India has added more paying customers to anything on content or gaming or edtech, than any other country in the world. So this whole ability to kind of say, hey, Indians want all free stuff is actually like moved on. So what is happening is when you demonstrate value, people are willing to consume, and people are willing to pay online. This is opening up a digital economy, which is not limited to the India alone, right? Also to the global across the world. So I feel SaaS, which is a massive sector, and SaaS could be to India what security is for Israel, right? And it could be we can build many global businesses, and we have seen how Zoho and Freshworks have actually opened up a model which is replicated by many unicorns happening now and later. I think that is a great one from India to the world. Gaming and media entertainment, edtech, what we are seeing with Byju's of the world are trying to serve the world, right? I think all of them are from India to the world kind of stories emerged, especially in context of building a slightly more digital economy of sorts.
Two things that we believe can tick off in a big way, apart from what Bhaskar called out, is one, any sort of entertainment is going to be in a big way. That could be content consumption, that could be on videos, that could be gaming, that could be betting sort of games, legal betting, I mean. So all of these put together are entertainment. Any sort of entertainment, I think people need to be on the hand. You have powerful smartphones today which can last you for an entire day. So this is going to be one sector. The second sector is going to be more like the consumerism on both the service side and the product side.
So with this, gentlemen, thank you so much. It was one of the very interesting conversations. I hope our viewers also enjoyed it. Thank you so much.